Okay, well, it looks like I have to record this again. What is my theology of ministry? Well, my theology of ministry is this. I believe that ministry is like a tree or a plant growing out of a unexpected place. I believe in life, and life that always continues growing, continues renewing itself. So the image for me would be a plant growing out of some place that is very unexpected. The second question is what role your faith tradition, sacred texts, teachings, mentors, saints have in articulating my theology of ministry. Well, the theologians that I look towards are those that affirm life in general, but specifically the life that occurs in communities of faith. So what that means is the idea of churches, houses of worship being places of memory and hope. What are we remembering? What are we having hope for? Well, for me, that's life. A lot of the German theologians, Metz, Moltmann, and Sola, speak about the role of church and the role of theology as a hopeful one, as a place to remember the past but also look towards the future. So I would look towards them for inspiration. But within my tradition of Unitarian Universalism, the figures that I look to are, there's so many of them. I'd say Kenneth Patton represents a important figure for me. He, in the 1950s, sought to innovate the way that Universalism was practiced in the United States. This is before the consolidation of the Unitarians and the Universalists in 1961. And at that point, Universalism was dying. What he did is he took Universalism out of its Judeo-Christian context and put it in the global context, literally creating a universalized universalism. And at the time, it wasn't well received. People thought, what are you doing with our faith here? He took most of the Christian images out of his meeting house at Charles Street in Boston, and he took down like a cross, for instance, that was on a chancel, and he replaced it with a massive mural of the Andromeda galaxy. And he surrounded that mural with symbols of all of the world's religions, but not only that, also the symbols of arts and science and philosophy, humanism. And basically what those brass images, I think there were over 50 in all, were designed to do is to say that that each of these points us towards the truth of our existence here in this universe. And we exist here, somewhere in this mass of stars and space. So I really admire his vision to take the religion in a very, very different direction. And as I said, it wasn't embraced until much later, but now that is how Unitarian Universalism is practiced. It's seen as a universalized religion. So universalism for us isn't just about salvation anymore. It's about that and more, which is pretty impressive. And it's a source of inspiration for me. So I'd say that he is a mentor. The sacred text that I draw from, I think that life itself is a sacred text. But to be more deliberate in answering the question, I'd say that any text that affirms life and affirms the inherent dignity and interconnectedness of the human experience is something that I would draw inspiration from. So I would start with the Bible, both the Hebrew Bible and Christian New Testament as sources of inspiration. The Tao Te Ching with its elegant, nuanced approach to describing reality. The massive lists, the epic lists of Walt Whitman, I find a lot of inspiration from that. There are also collections of Unitarian Universalist meditation manuals that describe various kinds of life experience. They're like little chicken soups for the UU soul. I find those very inspirational, and I'm always impressed by the breadth of life experiences that are captured with these really tiny books. So those are sacred texts for me, to be sure. Um, the saints, for me, anyone who stands up for what they believe in, anyone that does something that's unexpected, anyone who themselves is unexpected. The unexpected hero is the person that's reified in my mind. So my saints include people like Harriet Tubman, Isaiah, Jesus, just people who really stood on the edge, and in most cases went over the edge, and it was just not expected for them to do that. Martin Luther King, Walt Whitman, of course. I really, anyone whose life, in living their life, demonstrates the idea that life is worth fighting for its own sake, for the sake of others, is someone that I consider a saint in my book. Anyone who has vision and who is willing to live their life based on that vision. The person that comes to mind for me for that aspect of sainthood is Hildegard of Bingen, who I don't think has been declared a saint yet, which I think is preposterous. But just how, like, basically her visions informed her life. And that's something that I aspire towards. If someone were to come to me and ask how can they articulate their own faith and their own theology of ministry, I would tell them to look around them. Look at the things that they surround themselves with. Look at the things that they are interested in. That's where you'll find your theology of ministry. It's all around you. It's not so much a mystery to be uncovered, I think. It's actually an opportunity to discover what's already around you in a new way. For me, like, my theology of ministry is all about life and the possibility of life in all circumstances. And I look around me, and just in my room where I'm recording this right now, I'm surrounded by plants. You can't see them, but there are lots of plants here. So I'd say for me, just looking at what I surround myself with just affirms my theology of ministry in life itself. Words of caution that I might give to a seminarian trying to articulate their theology of ministry. As confident as I am in my theology of ministry, I would say that it's important to always hold on to a sense of openness, a sense that things can change and that change is good. I would not want to be stuck in my theology of ministry. My theology of ministry, I think, is for my benefit and for the benefit of the communities that I serve. And if at some point it turns out that this sense that life can't be defeated, if that becomes somehow problematic, or it stops my growth or stops the growth of the people that I minister to, then I hope that I have the wisdom and the courage to say that it's time to change things and to go down a different path. And I guess I would add to that future seminarian, that your theology of ministry should be the same thing as your deepest truth. I think that they are the same kind of thing. So I might even just rephrase the question and ask, what is your deepest truth? Because your deepest truth, in addition to all the things that surround you, will point you to what your theology of ministry is. So I hope that this answers the questions, and that that it might serve as some reference point or even a source of inspiration to others who are trying to discern their theology of ministry. Godspeed to you on your journey.